All right, so now that we've done a brief introduction, we're ready to launch into the Rothbart School of Temperament. And so this is the theory of temperament put forward by Mary Rothbart. And so in this theory of temperament, we're really interested in describing how infants and young children, how their motor and emotional reactivity seems to be linked. And so this also focuses on things like attentional processes and executive function, but really also wants to explain, although there's different components of temperament, all these components of temperament connect our biological reactivity and our ability to self-regulate. So it's really a combination between the biology, cognitive executive function, and our emotional display. So you can think about the triad, if you will. Now, according to Mary Rothbart, there's lots of different dimensions or traits we could talk about. In fact, according to this theory, there's 20 separate facets of our temperament. But these 20 facets cluster into 3 larger factors. And these 3 larger factors are things such as surgency, negative affectivity, and effortful control. And so this is the idea that there is these 3 separate components that we'll now go into a little bit further. So surgency is very much the idea of high activity. It's the idea that surgency, someone with high surgency, is very highly active. They move around more. They're more energized. They also tend to be more sociable. They're more outgoing. And they tend to display higher or more intense pleasurable emotions. They're more happy a lot of the time. And they tend to display more frequently nodes or facial expressions associated with anticipation. So we can picture someone high in surgency, they're highly active, they're very happy all the time, they're always anticipating the best in life. Versus someone lower in activity, they might be more quiet, more introverted, more reluctant, less likely to show a great degree of anticipation or pleasure. So that's the first factor. The second factor, according to Rothbart, is negative affectivity. And so this describes all the strongly aroused negative emotions that we can feel. So this is things like strong feelings of anger, of sadness, fear, discomfort, and distress. We could picture someone who has a lot of intense negative emotions as being high in negative affectivity, and a person who either has more pleasurable emotions or just a lack of negative affectivity, they're more calm, as being more low in this. Now, someone who's low in negative affectivity is not necessarily going to display lots of positive emotions. It's more so that they are less frequently displaying negative emotions. So we can imagine someone who's low in surgency and low in negative affectivity. They're not showing a high degree of pleasure or a high degree of fear. They're just more calm all the time. You could also get somebody who's going to be high in both these things. So they have lots of pleasurable emotions and a lot of negative emotions. And the third factor, according to Mary Rothbart, is the temperamental dimension of effortful control. And so this is the one that really overlaps with executive function. This is the idea that an infant or a child can remain calm. They can regulate themselves in an age-appropriate manner, of course. But on average, for a 2-year-old, they're able to calm down after a few moments. On average, for a 5-year-old, they're a pretty calm kid. Effortful control is also the idea that they can sustain their attention for a long period of time. Also, this bundles in with things like inhibitory control, so they can inhibit their behavior for the marshmallow task, or a Stroop task. So if you recall a Stroop task, it's the idea you have to say the color of the letters, not the word the letters spell, and so we have to inhibit that little glitch. So someone higher in inhibitory control is less likely to be impulsive, and they will show pleasure, but not so much the high anticipatory types of activity. They're going to show pleasure during low intensity activities. So this is someone who's going to really enjoy Tai Chi or reading or puzzles or something of that nature. They're showing a lot of engagement in calm, low arousal activities. Now, regarding insurgency, negative affectivity, and effortful control, as mentioned, so effortful control is the real big overlink there with executive function, but we can see how different combinations could link to all kinds of different behavior. So as mentioned, if you're going to have high surgency and high negative affectivity, you're going to have lots of pleasurable emotions, but also lots of negative. And what happens is when you're highly active and highly aroused, and you feel negative, we might get a person that feels very angry, and they express that in anger and outward hostility. Versus if you have low surgency but high negative affectivity, we might have a person who feels very negative, but that low arousal comes across as withdrawal or sadness or reluctantness. And then, of course, you can have someone who's low in surgency, low in negative affectivity, and they might just be that calm introvert. So lots of different combinations. And Rothbart's approach to temperament has definitely been praised in the literature. This really has helped us to conceptualize a lot of individual differences in infants and in children. If you think about an infant who displays lots of anger or displays lots of calmness in tasks, we can really see how this interplays. And this also carries forward throughout the lifespan. We can see young adults with these different traits. So it does connect well to later on personality development.